Good evening. Welcome to Monday's evening class on the 7 factors of awakening. I've been doing a lot of classes, so I get them mixed up. So we are going through the cultivation of effortless mindfulness in this class. And just to recap a little bit what we have touched on, I have mentioned over the last few sessions, I think 2 sessions, 2 different definitions of mindfulness. So in one definition, a modern one, mindfulness is defined as a particular way of paying attention. Has 3 characteristics. It's usually attending with intention or intentionally or purposefully. Second, attention to the present moment. And third, with a non-judgmental attitude, which is a very good kind of description of how we pay attention. And so you might want to refer back to this definition from time to time, just as a way of checking in and to see when you're cultivating or practicing mindfulness, whether you are aligned with that definition. A more classic definition from the Buddhist context will describe or define mindfulness as the non-forgetfulness of a familiar object, and the function of which is to prevent distraction. So that is a much simpler definition. And sometimes I rephrase it and tell people it's simply allowing an object to come to the very foreground of your awareness, of your attention, so that you actually notice it. And of course, this is much easier if it is a familiar object. And not only that, it also has a function of allowing you to see clearly, because you are less distracted. More of your energy of attention is actually with the object that you are supposed to be attending to. Now, definitions aside, I also like to emphasize that not to be too worried about definitions. It's actually more important to have a trust that all of us has this quality of mindfulness. It's not something unusual or unique to only certain kinds of people or few people. In fact, it is universal. All of us have this ability to be mindful, to pay mindful awareness. It's just a matter of cultivating that natural ability and allowing it to manifest on more occasions in a beneficial way to us. So whether we know the definition or not, we are mindful. We can be mindful. And by engaging in the different mindfulness practice or mindfulness meditation, we are slowly enhancing and strengthening these natural abilities. So much so that eventually we don't, not only does it manifest in the artificial situation of meditation or so-called mindfulness practice, but it also spontaneously arises in our day-to-day life. We are just spontaneously and just naturally aware and mindful and attentive. So we start off with mindfulness of the body. So the emphasis is to return the attention to the body, to become more intimately aware of the body. In this case, the body could be bodily sensations. That's usually the first place we start off with. Last week, I also introduced awareness of, mindful awareness of the body from the point of view of the body is made up of different parts. So that also can come under mindfulness. Yeah. And today I want to move on to another area where we can apply mindfulness, mindfulness of feelings. Here the word feelings has a much more narrower definition or scope than how we normally use the word. Here it really means mindful of pleasant feelings or sensations, unpleasant feelings, and neutral feelings. So occasion where we experience pleasures, pain, or neutrality, neither pleasant nor unpleasant. Why? Because when feelings are feeling of pain and pleasure are actually a very great, profound influence on our experience, influence our body, influence our mind. So by giving mindful attention to any of these feelings, we are actually able to bring about some change in our experience, change in our behavior, change in our responses. Yeah. Take for example, being mindful of pleasures, pleasant sensations. Not only do we experience pleasure, but now we are actually mindfully aware of those pleasures. This, first of all, enhance our enjoyment of those pleasant feelings. Many of time, especially with eating, I'm not very mindful. Yeah, the food I might find myself in front of me, this wonderful, delicious food, but because I'm not mindful and I have a bad habit of eating very fast, and before I know it, I will have finished all the food, and yet I may not have really tasted those flavors of the food. So, in this case, the lack of mindfulness diminish my enjoyment of those delicious food. So conversely, if we are mindful, we are aware, we're very much present, we get to derive greater enjoyment from what is already pleasant to us. Yeah. So that is one benefit of mindfulness of feelings. Mindfulness of pain, actually, mindfulness is used in some pain management program these days, learning how to relate to painful sensations, especially when we have exhausted other means of dealing with pain. So, with mindfulness, we can learn to adjust the way we relate to painful sensations. We can find means to reduce the negative impact of those pain on our functioning, on our daily life, and we come to live with pain, especially like chronic pain, in a way that would diminish the negative impact and hopefully able to enhance any positive aspects of it. Yeah. So of course it sounds a bit strange, and of course if you can be free of pain, by all means be free of pain. There's no need to keep the pain just so that you can practice mindfulness. But in the event and many occasions in life, especially when people suffer from chronic pain, it's not that they want the pain, but it's just in spite of other various means, they're not able to be totally free from pain. Then mindfulness is one among many techniques and methods that can be helpful. It's especially helpful with working with the secondary reactions to pain, because aside from the pain, we also react to it. The body tense up even stronger against the pain, bracing against the pain, which quite often aggravate the situation. On top of the pain itself, all these tensions and tightenings introduce additional problem, physical problem for us. And likewise, the mind react to the pain. We in different ways. We can become very fearful of the pain. We have a lot of anger and resentment towards it as we resist this painful experience, and so on and so forth. And that also increases our sense of unhappiness, sometimes even sense of despair over the pain. So if we can find a way to lessen those reactivity, to help us respond differently to the painful sensations, then we can, even though we may not be able to rid ourselves of the pain immediately, we can definitely improve the quality of life. We can even help us connect with happiness, with more pleasant, more uplifting feelings, in spite of the pain. Right. So that's what we're going to look at today, mindfulness of feeling. But before I do that, I thought it's good to start with a meditation to refresh a bit and to revisit the topic of effortless mindfulness, which is my aim, my objective. Why describe it as effortless? Because I feel that it's important to emphasize when we work to cultivate or enhance the quality of mindfulness, that we can do it in a way that does not involve additional struggle, does not introduce additional tension. Sometimes when we try hard, or harder, we have a tendency to tense up and almost as if we want to forcefully increase our mindfulness. And I'm trying to suggest to people not to do that. That there are another way to approach mindfulness that doesn't involve tension, doesn't involve forcefulness, doesn't involve willfulness. That and you might find that other way much more enjoyable as well. Effortless mindfulness. Another aspect of cultivating mindfulness is a phase that most of us will go through when we learn to cultivate mindfulness. Is this sense that we feel like we are stepping away from a situation, stepping back, so that there's a greater distance between you and whatever it is you are attending to. And a lot of time we find that helpful because we are less enmeshed with the situation, with the feelings, with the reactivity. And so we feel that we are being a bit more objective. We're able to observe, we're able to be mindfully aware of what is happening. And so sometimes people call this stage the stage of witnessing. It's almost like we separate ourselves out from our pain, separate ourselves out from our emotional reactivities, and become a witness, impartial observer of our life. Yeah. And this phase, most of us will go through as we start to learn about mindfulness, as we learn to pay attention, to be more aware. And we may stay in this phase for quite a while. The thing is not to think of it as the end point cultivation of mindfulness, not to think that this experience where it seems like we have increased the distance between myself and my feeling, myself and my body, myself and the pain, myself and my thoughts, this separating out as an impartial witness is the end point of the cultivation of mindfulness. In fact, it isn't. It's just a phase we go through as we learn to figure out or learn to rewire our brain as to how to be more mindfully aware of what's happening. Now, this separation is, I would also say, is artificial. It's a phase that we go through as the mind adjusts itself. And because the reality is we are never, in a way, apart from our life. We never become this so-called impartial witness to our life. The problem with this separation is if we get very serious, it becomes a form of dissociation. Sort of dissociate with a part of your own experience, which also happen naturally, actually. We don't want to entrench it. I mean, it may happen, but we don't want to make it into the norm of mindfulness practice. I'm always somehow apart, a distance. Because that kind of dissociation, that kind of separation is not necessarily true. In fact, on a deeper level, that isn't how we live our life. I sometimes describe this condition as if there's a river. This is the river of my life. The river represents all the flow of my life experiences, my hopes, my fears, my dreams, my moment-to-moment experiences. And sometimes we imagine that what we do is we, as the witness, stand on the bank of this river and just look at that river. Notice the separation. The river is my life, and I'm on the bank of my river of life, looking as the onlooker. If you think a little bit about this image, you know that it cannot be true. How can I separate myself from my life and then look at it? I'm at any moment, I'm actually in the river. I'm actually the river itself. So I would invite you to get your feet wet and step back into your river of life, and better still to swim in the river of your life, and better still to merge with your river of life, because that's where we are and that's who we are, really. And from that perspective, we can cultivate a mindful awareness that is not distancing or separating ourselves from our experiences, but instead, sometimes people call it intimacy, to become intimate with our experiences. And it's a strange experience. Instead of having a gap, distance, it's almost like we invite those experiences to come into the very center of our awareness, come into the very center of our being. So instead of being separate from, we become more intimate with it. In fact, we become so intimate that almost as if we merge with those experiences. And that is how, eventually, when we cultivate mindfulness, how mindful awareness can manifest. Now, before I go on and become very theoretical, this is just to give you an idea of a possibility. Yeah. And let's do a meditation. And in this meditation, we're going to start with listening. And I'm going to use an app on my phone to produce 2 sets of bells. I think 5 rings per bell. After the first set, there's a 1 minute of pause, and then the second set of bells. And this is just to create sound. In this meditation, we start with listening. We settle ourselves in the posture, and then we just quiet down and listen. After all, how else can we listen better? There's no muscle we can tense up, not the ear muscle, in order to pay more attention. All we need to do is to settle back and quiet down and be open and receptive, and just to welcome and let the sound come to us. Right? Sound is a vibration, literally the vibration of the air. Right? So we can allow that vibration to come, not close, but come all the way in. After all, it must touch our eardrum for us to hear the sound. So we can welcome the sound all the way into our awareness, almost as if instead of feeling I'm here, the listener, and the sound is there, that the sound actually comes into the space, the field of my mindful awareness, and I'm intimately aware of the sound. So we start with sound, and we bring the same quality of listening awareness, listening mindful awareness, to bodily sensations that I'm going to invite you, apart from the sounds in the surrounding, the sound of my voice, to also listen and to be aware of what the body is telling us in the form of sensations, tension, relaxation, hardness, softness, heaviness, lightness, ease, comfort, or discomfort. Yeah. And then lastly, sound, bodily sensation. In the last category, of course, we can also listen and be mindfully aware of our thoughts. Thoughts in the form of visual images, memories, fantasies, thoughts in the form of inner speech, inner talk, a dialogue, inner commentary, and so on. So a mixture of that. Yeah. And so to welcome all these different experiences into the space of our awareness. And all we need to do is we don't have to kind of feel like we must focus on this and focus. We just sit back and be here and just open up with this open field or space of awareness. Almost like I use the image of a radar. Just be a radar and just notice wherever things that come into the range of your detection. So let's do a meditation and see what happens. So first, settle our body in a comfortable meditation posture. Try to have the back upright in a natural way if you're sitting, or if you're lying down, have the spine straight, and take care that the posture we adopt isn't one that will introduce additional pain or discomfort. Instead, the posture helps the body to feel well supported, stable, and reassure the body that it is balanced and safe. So feel free to close your eyes completely if you like it, or you can also leave your eyes open or half open, whichever way works best for you. And take a few moments, allow the body to settle into the posture itself, get used to the posture. And as the body feels assured in the posture, it can begin a very natural process of unwinding, of loosening up, releasing some of those unnecessary contractions and tightenings, such that given time, we may find that the body can really settle down comfortably into the posture. So as we rest ourselves here and now, be open, be receptive. I'm going to play this app, and all we need to do is simply to listen. So during the pause, be open and receptive, and simply be aware of other sounds, other things that come into this listening mindful awareness of yours. And when the next set of bells ring, see if you can settle back once again, be open. There's nothing that you need to do, simply be present here and now, and to receive the sounds, the bodily sensations, the thoughts, or whatever it is that come into awareness. So settling back into here and now, allow the body to settle into the posture, allow the mind, the attention to settle back in the present moment, be an open, listening, aware space, within which, just as before, we will notice sounds that come all the way into this spacious awareness. The sound of my voice, maybe. And also, you will become aware of sensations, bodily sensations that come into your mindful awareness. Welcome those sensations, those sounds into your awareness. Don't feel that you need to do anything to them. Don't feel that you need to, in particular, focus on them. Simply allow them to be here for as long as they are here, and allow them to go as they fade away from your awareness. Maybe among those sensations will be sensations from the face, sensations of the face, some of which are tension, tightness, as most of us have unconscious habits tightening the muscles of our face. See if we can allow those sensations to just be here in awareness. And since we do have more conscious control over our facial muscles, we may want to see if we can gently relax those facial muscles and welcome in a different set of sensations into awareness. Maybe sensations of softness, of ease, and comfort as we relax those facial muscles. Throughout the meditation, occasionally do check in again with the face. Do allow in sensations from your own face, just to see whether during the meditation you may have unconsciously once again tense up the same set of muscles. And if you do, see if you can facilitate the release of those same muscles so that your face will feel soft, at ease, relaxed, and comfortable during the meditation. Maybe we will notice other areas of the body, areas where you feel tight, unpleasant, uncomfortable, areas of the body where we may not have such conscious control. In that case, maybe we can simply acknowledge those unpleasant feelings, unpleasant sensations, and just let them be for the moment. Resting our attention here and now as this spacious awareness. Maybe we also notice sensations associated with the breath, the rhythmic movements of the breath through the body as we breathe in and out. Sensations that might be experienced around the nostrils, could be the chest, could be the abdomen. See, we can also allow such breath sensations to come into awareness, to move, to shift, to change. So resting our attention, our awareness here and now, we can make sounds, bodily sensations, breath sensations, make them as our support, inviting our attention to come back here and now, to rest here as a listening, open awareness. Any sound that we happen to hear as an invitation to come back to this moment and be this open listening space. Any bodily sensations, any breath sensations can also be a wake-up call, reminding us to come back here and now. Just settle back, open up, be receptive, and listen. Resting our attention here and now as this open listening awareness. Very often we'll find that attention is drawn into a train of thoughts, a series of visual images, memories, fantasies. And we lose touch with the here and now, with the present moment. Attention become narrowed down, become focused, become caught up in thoughts, in images. When we notice it, see if we can regard that as quite normal. And then invite our attention to come back here and now, open up and listen. Listen to sounds, listen to bodily sensations, listen to breath sensations, and come back to this very moment. So coming back to this moment, opening up to become this spacious listening awareness, listening to sounds, bodily sensations, breath sensations. Occasionally, we may even have the experience of listening to our own thoughts without getting too caught up in them, listening to the thoughts flowing through this listening space, aware of the words we use, the images we call forth in the mind. To see if we can, again and again, allow ourselves to just settle back into this moment, open up, be receptive, and listen. Coming back to the present moment, resting the body in the posture, resting the mind, one's own attention and awareness in this moment, becoming just a listening space, listening awareness, open, receptive, no need to focus on anything, no need to shift your attention here and there, no need to concentrate on anything. Simply allow sounds, bodily sensations, breath, thoughts, images to just come and go within your listening aware space. So as we continue resting our awareness in this moment, be open, receptive. Maybe our verbal thoughts can appear to us like sounds. And we can listen not only to the words we use, we can listen to the tone of voice, the emotions, the feelings that go along with it. And we can be aware of visual images that form part of our fantasies, our memories. All of this simply appear within this space of our listening mindful awareness. Okay, so that's one way of cultivating mindfulness. So instead of thinking of our mindful attention as like a spotlight and we are shining it deliberately on different objects, see if we can turn it around and think of our mindful attention awareness as like the space, like like a radar, the space permeate the space. We are simply just noticing and becoming aware of the different objects that enters into this space. This just like the analogy of listening. Normally, we don't really, with the human ears, we don't really turn to focus on the sound. We simply allow the sound to come to us. So likewise, in the same way, when we cultivate mindfulness, we can adopt a slightly different image or different analogy. And hopefully, my hope is by changing the analogy, by approaching the cultivation of mindfulness in this way, it helps to reduce our sense of having to work very hard to be mindful, having to put a lot of effort into being mindful. And instead to think that actually mindfulness is the most natural thing. And all we need occasionally is to quiet down, is to settle back, and to just open up and to be receptive of what is happening in this moment, here and now. Just as we quiet down and open up and listen to what are the sounds in the surrounding. Of course, we are always busy talking. It's harder for us to listen and to be aware of the surrounding sound. So all we need to do is to quiet down, just sit back, relax, be open and listen, and lo and behold, sound starts to appear, come into awareness. We are mindfully aware of the sounds in this present moment, and by extending the energy, we aware, mindfully aware of the body and the thoughts, and so on and so forth. Okay, so I hope that you might want to give it a try, maybe a few more times, and that it might actually come across as feeling much less effort is needed in order to be mindful. And hopefully, the aim, of course, eventually is to find that it is an effortless thing to be mindful. It's not like the most natural thing to be spontaneously present and aware. And also the lack of separation. It's not a dissociation from our life experiences. Instead, it is a sense of welcoming those experiences to come all the way into the very space of our awareness, so that we know them, we experience them, and they are actually very much a part of us, a part of our life experiences. Okay, so let me now touch on mindfulness of feelings. Actually, there is a kind of progression when we cultivate mindfulness, a very natural progression, not just artificial. To start with body, because the body is the most obvious things. It's much easier to notice the body than to notice something like thoughts, which might take a bit of practice before we know how to get a hang on it. Yeah, the body is very obvious. We feel tired, automatically we are aware that we are tired. We are in pain, we are aware of the pain. Of course, when we are excited, we can aware of, or nervous, we can aware of all those bodily sensations. Just natural for us to be easily mindful of it. But there is once you start off with mindful awareness of the body, then it has a kind of a natural chain reaction, because with mindfulness of the body, mindfully aware of the different bodily sensations, the state of the body, that act of being mindful of the body I usually think of it as a reconnection of body and mind. Of course, the body and mind never really separate or dissociated, but it's almost like we are healing that connection. We are strengthening, which the connection can become very weak, because in our modern living, modern world, so much of the things that we need to attend to are abstract, up in the head, a lot of ideas and concepts. And that really takes us very far away from our actual visceral bodily experiences. And so over a period of time, we may find that just by living a very modern, urban, busy lifestyle, we are slowly disconnecting. We are not so in touch, not so aware of our body, of the various bodily experiences, the various impact of stress on our body. We are not so aware of it, to the extent that it's not uncommon to find people unaware that they're actually exhausted, that they are tired, because they're just going on adrenaline and just busy, until when they finally sat down at home, then all the tiredness will just well up, and then they fall asleep. All right. So people are unaware that they are hungry, unaware that they're thirsty. They may neglect the body to quite an excessive extent. Yeah. So mindfulness of the body is very helpful to reverse this trend. Keep us in touch and be aware of the state of the body, so that we will take better care of the body. And not only that, just by being aware of the body, mindful, aware of the body, it facilitates the body in the process where the body can make adjustments. Right? For example, in meditation, the body might say, "Oh, actually, things seems to work all right in this moment. I'm not facing any danger. Maybe I don't need to be so tight, so tense," and that facilitates a certain degree of releasing of tension, a releasing of unnecessary tension, contraction and tightening. That is very much a very common part of our reaction to stress in our life. So now we can unwind a bit, loosen it, let go. And the body feels immediately so much better, so much more relaxed, more comfortable, more at ease. So that is the effect of mindfulness of body. And once that process starts, immediately it starts to produce pleasant feelings. Of course, not intense pleasant feeling, but mild sense of softening, relaxation, comfort. Immediately there is something nice is happening, something pleasant. So pleasant feeling arise as a result of mindfulness of body. Mindfulness of body that promote a sense of unwinding, sense of relaxation, of release. And because my pleasant feelings arise as a result of that, we can now be mindfully aware of that pleasant feelings. So these are pleasant feelings. There are different sources of pleasant feeling, of course. Yeah. And I mentioned food. Delicious food is a source of pleasant feelings, pleasant sensations. Watching a nice movie is a pleasant sensation to eyes and ears. Of course, also to the mind, because a lot of it involve understanding what the movie is about, involve ideas and associations and so forth. Yeah. And here the pleasant feeling comes from, very specifically, from the release of physical tension and contractions and tightening. So this source of pleasant feelings, this type of pleasant feeling, as we pay attention to it, as we again mindfully invite it into our awareness, it has an additional benefit. It helps to calm the mind. It's very reassuring to the mind with this kind of very much more calming, soothing, pleasant sensation. It really reassures the mind that everything is all right. Otherwise, we wouldn't have this kind of pleasant feelings. We wouldn't experience this kind of pleasant sensations, which is associated with the relaxation and the release of bodily tension, bodily reactivity. And because we experience it now, it reassures the mind. It's almost like sending a very soothing signal to the mind that, as I said, everything is all right. And once the mind gets the message, really get through to our mind, you'll find that the mind also responds in a very positive way. One of the most significant things is the thought process starts to slow down. It's less agitated. It's like zzz, starts to slow down a bit. So, and occasionally, the whole thing is thinking, ruminating, worrying, planning, blah 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 blah, stops. That's not. And suddenly you say, "Oh, it's very quiet. It's very innerly. It's very internally. It's very quiet." As the mind relinquishes some of those agitated thinking, those worrying, those anxious thoughts. And so that is the benefit of mindfulness, of this particular category of pleasant feelings. It goes a long way to calm our mental reactivity, calm our mental agitation. Maybe not perfectly, but definitely greatly reduce its intensity, greatly reduce the disturbances to the mind. And of course, this mindfulness of feeling in this way lead to the next, which we're not going to touch on today, mindfulness of the mind. As the mind calms down, suddenly we become very aware of it, become very aware of the thoughts that are going through our mind, the images appearing in our mind, the kind of feelings or processes happening in the mind, influencing the mind. So there is this natural progression of cultivation of mindfulness of body naturally lead to mindfulness of feeling, naturally to mindfulness of the mind. And along the way, there are benefits that come forth from each. So that's why the sequence I'm following. So today, mindfulness of feelings. Yeah. Mindfulness feeling is almost similar to mindfulness of the body sensation. Maybe we are already practicing mindfulness of feeling when we are doing mindfulness of the body. We notice, oh, that feels so much nicer, so much softer, feels so good. Or, oh, that feels so unpleasant, so tight, so tense, so uncomfortable. And within that awareness is the awareness of feelings. Here, feelings are referring to just the simple fact of experiencing an object or situation as pleasant, as nice, as pleasurable, or as opposite as painful, as uncomfortable, as unpleasant. And of course, then there is the third category, where in relation to a lot of objects or experiences, we can't really say it's nice or not nice, or pleasant or unpleasant. So they get lumped into this third category, which just for sake of simplicity, we call it neutral. It may not actually be neutral. It's probably more accurate to call it neither pleasant nor unpleasant. Right? So these are the three categories of feeling tones that we experience. Why is it important to attend to it? Because such feelings are tremendously powerful motivator to our behavior. Take a very simple example of comfort eating. So a lot of us, especially when we are stressed, we engage in comfort eating. I eat big bags of potato chips, just chow it down. Comfort eating. Comfort eating in this kind of context, at least for my case, is a way of avoiding unpleasant feelings by almost trying to substitute or suppress it by engaging in another activity, in this case, eating. Eating that stimulates familiar, mildly pleasant feelings. So I'm actually distracting myself, dissociating myself, distracting myself from something unpleasant, some unpleasant feelings, some uncomfortable feelings about the situation I'm in my life, let's say, for example. And not able to address it directly, not willing to face it directly, I find myself running away, in this case, by indulging in comfort eating, right? And hoping that, and it sometimes works in the sense that the mild, pleasant, familiar feelings of comfort eating help temporarily to suppress from my awareness that unpleasantness, the uncomfortable feeling in relation to whatever it is, whatever issue it is that I'm not wanting to face or unable to deal with. So this kind of behavior pattern, this one is, in my case, this is a very mild example, but there are of course much more intense example of this. Show how much feelings dictate our behavior. In fact, in this example, even if I intellectually know what I'm doing, quite often I'm not able to stop myself. Quite often I feel deep down this is what I need to do because I really wanted to be awake, though not ready to face that unpleasant reality. Right? So that goes to show how powerful feelings of this sort in influencing my behavior, influencing my attitude, influencing how I feel or think about things. So therefore, it's really important to, particularly because of that, to not leave it in the dark, to not leave such feelings and such reactive behavior out of conscious awareness, outside of mindful awareness, and simply allow ourselves to just follow them mindlessly. It is by behaving mindlessly, by repeatedly following such behavior that we reinforce it. Maybe in my case, it's not so bad. Just a bit of extra calories from the potato chips that I might need to work it off or put on weight. But in other situations, such mindless behavior, reactive behavior, can have much more severe negative consequences. And they are hard to deal with because they're precisely designed, or not designed, but precisely they arise outside of our conscious awareness. So in order to break the cycle, in order to introduce something new or different, we need to return a mindful awareness to this aspect of our life. And we start off by becoming mindfully aware of feelings. So today I just want to focus on pleasant feelings, comforting, beneficial, pleasant feelings, and how important that is. So, for example, in the case of in the context of meditation, I often remind people that whenever you notice pleasant feeling, excuse me, however mild or subtle they may be, but you know these pleasant sensations are arising as a result of your meditation, as a result of your mindfulness practice. The, the relaxing of physical tension due to mindfulness. Then all the more important it is to notice them, to notice those pleasant sensations, to welcome them into awareness, and all the more allow ourselves to enjoy them while they're here, to enjoy, to appreciate this mild sensation, usually related to relaxation, the release of physical tension and tightness. Occasionally, there's also mental pleasure, mental pleasant experiences when thoughts subside, become less insistent. And within our experience, there seems to arise a very comfortable sense of silence or space. The mental space is not constantly chock up or filled with thoughts and images. There seems to be an easing off of that kind of mental agitation, and experience as a very nice sense of like a break. The mind is taking a break from all the agitation, and it feels quite soothing. Of course, it's not very exciting, it's not intense, but it's a very mild sense of peace or silence. Sometimes people would describe it. Hey, that's what we are working for, isn't it, with meditation? So now that it's here, why not notice it? Why not welcome it into awareness? Why not enjoy it? By enjoying both the physical and mental pleasures that come out of meditation, we are actually reinforcing, building up really positive association with our practice, with our mindfulness meditation practice. We build really positive association, which are very encouraging, very empowering, and it helps to facilitate us coming back again to it, help us to build up really good habits of sustaining and cultivating mindfulness. And more than that, by being mindful of this kind of pleasant feelings, it has, as I said, the added effect of reassuring the mind, help to further calm the mind, settle the mind, help the mind to release its agitation, release the different kind of mental reactivities, our mental reactions to stress, which manifests quite often in the form of this kind of ruminating thoughts, go round and round and round. It's a topic that we can't let go yet. Yeah. So we help to, by mindfully aware of this kind of pleasant feelings, we are actually calming the mind, helping the mind to take a break from agitation, from stress, from mental reactivities. So there are great benefits to cultivate mindful awareness of pleasant feelings. We do need to make a distinction between the sources of pleasant feelings. Not all sources of pleasant feelings are necessarily calming, soothing. Some types of pleasant feelings are more excitable. They excite us, they stimulate us, and they're not good or bad, but they're just different qualities arise from different sources. And of course, in the case of the stimulating one, on certain occasion that might be helpful, but definitely in the case of helping us to work with stress, help us to release our mental reactivity, to calm the mind down, then that is not so helpful because that tends to agitate the mind. That might even help make the mind spin faster. Right? So we do need to take care to select the right type or the helpful types of pleasant feelings and to welcome that into our mindful awareness. And there are in Buddhist teaching two main types of pleasant feelings that are highlighted, and that I'm sure that if you want to divide, you can divide them in many, many different categories. But very often in meditative literature, in the Buddhist context, two types of pleasant feelings are mentioned, particularly related to meditative practice, meditation. One is called rapture, which is a very energetic kind of pleasant sensations, much more physical. And rapture is one of the factor of awakening. So I will leave this later on in this series when we cover other factors of awakening. So rapture is a very energizing kind of experience. It's very uplifting, sometimes maybe a little bit too energizing. And rapture is also of great variety, you know, and some are pretty unusual and strange sensations. Yeah. But let's focus on the second type, which are less commonly talked about. Normally, it's simply translated as happiness. I like to call it the happiness of contentment. Now, this type is much more peaceful, very subtle. It's simply the happiness and joy of feeling contented in this moment, feeling that, oh, everything is all right in this moment. Whatever is happening is good enough for now, good enough for this moment. So there is no longer any sense of deficiency, not good enough, must work harder, must strive harder, must reach out and grab for bigger results, more intense results. No, it's almost like a settle back and to say, oh, this moment is good enough for now. And it's a very unusual kind of pleasant feelings to work with, and one that I think can be very helpful in our modern living to be mindfully aware of it, because it really counteracts a lot of our grasping mind, a mind of lack, a mind of deficiency or insufficiency, a mind of feeling not good enough, not worthy enough. I must work harder and harder and harder. I must strive for more and more and more. You know, the kind of desire or craving that can leave us feeling very depleted, leave us feeling unfulfilled in spite of all that we already possess, and leave us feeling very dissatisfied, even though probably our life is not that bad after all, you know, compared to a lot of other people. So we are not able to appreciate what we have, not able to enjoy what we have. And instead we are constantly driven by this dissatisfaction, this lack of fulfillment. It's not a good place to be. So it might be good sometimes to become at least aware of this other kind of happiness, the happiness of contentment, of being just present here in this moment and feeling it's all right. I'm quite happy. Happy for no good reason. But this, whatever is here is good enough for now. Not good enough forever, because we do have room for improvement, for change. But in this moment, from this particular perspective, this moment is good enough. Why not? Why not be happy now? You know, why do I have to wait for another decade, wait until I achieve that goal or be that person or arrive at that place? Then I can be happy. Why not be happy now? Be contented now. Be appreciative of what is already here and just be happy. So that is contentment, another quality that can arise in meditation. And one thing that another the pleasant feeling that we can actually be mindful of. And so I can't, out of thin air, manifest contentment for myself or for you. So I'm suggesting in this next meditation, we are going to create a conditions and see whether we are able to tap into uh, the happiness of contentment. We can tap into these feelings may arise. And when it does arise, I will invite you to practice mindfulness, be aware of it, welcome it fully into your awareness, and allow yourself to enjoy. So what is the technique, the method we're going to use? It's simply this phrase, good enough for now. This is good enough for now. So the way I do this meditation is not strictly a mindfulness meditation, but nonetheless, it's an interesting meditation to explore. To say this phrase, this is good enough for now. So the way I do it usually is I start off this repeated phrase a few times just to get used to the words, good enough for now, good enough for now. And then things will come to mind, sometimes randomly, things, aspects of my life, of course. What else will come to mind? Like my bank account, not that it will, not that I'm always thinking about my bank account, but it may pop into my mind. Then as an exercise or experiment, you will say, good enough for now. And see what happens. Maybe you say, no, it's not good enough. There's not enough money. Or that at least tell you something about yourself, about where we are holding on and craving. And likewise, other aspects can come to mind. A relationship, a particular person might pop into your mind. Good enough for now. Referencing the relationship. Then you pause and see how you respond to this. Are you able to go along with this phrase? Are you able to acknowledge that, yeah, it's good enough for now? No. The body, maybe your mind touches the body, you're aware of the body, good enough for now. Maybe you're aware of the sensations of the shoulder. At the moment, it's quite tight and tense, very uncomfortable. And when that discomfort comes to mind, can I say, good enough for now? Which is a strange thing to say, which means, yes, I know it's not comfortable, but that's all right. This is the reality of this moment, and I can live with it. I'm not going to make myself all upset and all depressed and all agitated because this feeling at the moment is uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable, okay, I can acknowledge it. I'm okay with it. I don't like it. I'm not going to deliberately prolong it, but nonetheless, at this moment, I'm going to be undisturbed by it. Good enough for now. Or if this shoulder feels so much more relaxed and ease, I say, good enough for now. Right? So we are simply applying the phrase to the different experiences, maybe what is current in this moment, or whatever things that come into your mind about different aspects of your life. And as you apply the phrase, see if you can find either discontent, not good enough, or occasionally we say, yeah, okay, good enough for now. And when that happens, see whether you can, maybe not be easy, tap into the feel of that, the feeling of being content and being okay, and say, yes, this is good enough for now. The for now is very important, all right? Not forever, just for this moment, just for this particular place and time, this particular occasion. Am I okay with it? Maybe I am. And see whether you can touch this very subtle sense of happiness or pleasant sensation, very, very subtle, very, very peaceful, of more of a feeling of satisfaction, of fulfillment, of being at ease with whatever it is that is here. Right? So let's do a very short meditation on this and just see what we may discover about ourselves. Right? So settle yourself back into a comfortable meditation posture. And just ring this bell to signal the start of this meditation. So for the first few minutes, let's ensure that our body is comfortable, well supported in this posture. Give our body and mind a few minutes to adjust, to transition once again back into a meditative state. You might want to rest the attention on the breath sensations in the body, or another way of saying, allow the breath sensations to come into our awareness. And whenever we notice an out breath, as we breathe out naturally, let's make use of that opportunity to release. Just as we breathe out to release the carbon dioxide in our lungs, maybe as we breathe out, other things unwanted, unhelpful, unnecessary, may just naturally follow along and flow away with the breath. Breathing out, maybe some of the tightness and tension and contraction in the body might dissolve, unwind, and flow away with the breath. And likewise, resting our awareness here and now, being aware of breath sensations, maybe some of the thoughts or mental images or concerns that pop into the mind, they are not related to the meditation. Maybe they can also go with the breath. So we can allow the breath sensations to be an anchor for us. That at any point during the short meditation, we can make use of the breath sensations as a way of reminding us to come back to this present moment, to be here and now. And in this meditation, I invite you to slowly and mindfully, at your own pace, repeat this phrase. This is good enough for now. This is good enough for now is a phrase for us to explore the notion of contentment, satisfaction. And as we say the phrase, maybe different things come to mind, different things come into awareness. See if we can apply the phrase to these various different experiences if appropriate. This is good enough for now. In so doing, see if we can discover for ourselves maybe that subtle, happy feeling of contentment that might already be here. Coming back here now, maybe we notice the breath. Breath sensation come into awareness. This is good enough for now. We don't need the perfect breath. We don't need a deeper breath, a longer breath, or the right breath. This one is good enough for now. Maybe bodily sensations come to mind. Maybe comfortable one, relaxation, softness, maybe uncomfortable one, tightness, tension. See if we can respond to it with the phrase, this is good enough for now. And see what happens. Resting attention here and now, maybe with the breath, thought arise. Thought about different aspects of our life, about concerns, about worry, about situations. If appropriate, see if we can respond. This is good enough for now. Apply that phrase to that situation, to that relationship, to that person, that object, and see what happens. Coming back to this moment, to the meditation, apply the phrase, this is good enough for now, and check in and see how you respond. Maybe you think it is not good enough, and that is fine. Maybe you think it can be better, that is also fine. On occasions, in relation to certain things, we actually feel that this is good enough for now. This is okay for now. In those moments, see if you can tune into it. See if you can allow into your awareness. On those occasions, maybe that subtle sense of being at peace with this moment, with this thing, with this issue, is a very subtle feeling of happiness, of contentment. And see if you can welcome that subtle, pleasant feelings into your mindful awareness and allow yourself to enjoy it while it is here. Coming back here now, maybe you notice the mind is busy with thoughts. When you notice it, say the phrase, this is good enough for now. Maybe it is. Maybe noticing the mind being agitated, distracted, is in itself the reality of this moment. And why not accept it, acknowledge it as such for this moment? This is good enough for now. Coming back to this moment, sometimes all we need to do is slowly, mindfully, just repeat the phrase, this is good enough for now, and see what comes to mind, what comes into awareness, what we are mindfully aware of, and respond to that with the same phrase, this is good enough for now. And maybe doing that is in itself good enough for now. And then finally, we can dedicate this good enough meditations, this good enough session by gathering up all the positive momentum we created together through practice, through learning, and dedicate that positive momentum towards the fulfillment of our wishes and aspirations. Dedicate that may anything helpful that come out of this session, may they somehow stay with us, linger in body and mind to continue to benefit us. Okay, that's good enough for this evening. Um, just a short announcement. This Wednesday, my classes are cancelled due to conference organized by Vajrayana Institute. So, just in case any of you are attending that class. So, thank you for your attention, and hope to see you next week. And have a good week ahead.